2012, over 2,500 drug-related deaths were recorded in England and Wales. Almost 1,000 of these deaths were related to the use of opiates, including methadone and heroin. That same year, a further 581 drug-related deaths were recorded in Scotland, with a total of 458 related to opiate use. Each of these deaths is a tragedy in itself, causing emotional impact on so many lives. Each individual lost to drugs is someone's family, someone's friend, someone's daughter, or someone's son.
A few years ago, before I had my son, I'd been clean for a bit and decided to score. Had a hit, went over, ambulance was called, and they hit me up with Naloxone, and I was taken to hospital, went over again in the ambulance and was given it again and then discharged on the next day. But I've had friends of mine that it's not been not such a happy ending.
Well, I've overdosed twice myself due to drinking and mixing heroin, I think. Lucky enough, I had people phone 999 for me, and the medics come along and they administered me with Naloxone. And the second time they said to me, I was really lucky they got there in time to give it to me, or I would have been dead a couple of minutes more. So I think Naloxone's a good thing.
The number of drug-related deaths in England rose quite a lot last year, especially when you consider that in a lot of places in England, Naloxone is not available. There's no doubt that Wales and Scotland are taking the lead as far as dishing out Naloxone. But unfortunately, we actually saw, I think it was 32 deaths last year in the Abertawe, Bro-Morgannwg area. And that's obviously 32 deaths, which is way too much, and it's essential that agencies like SANS work together to engage with as many drug users who are at risk to actually give kits out and actually help prevent drug-related deaths.
I have a friend of mine who had never done it before, never done heroin before. She took it and was on life support then for 12 days, and then they had to turn the machine off. She died, and another friend of mine then, he was on his own in his house, overdosed, and was found 3 days later.
The Naloxone take-home project, it's very important in saving lives through overdose. There were times where it wasn't available for clients. It relied on getting the ambulance on site. There was no other intervention other side from maybe a bit of CPR, putting them in a recovery position. The Naloxone take-home project empowers the client to intervene in an overdose situation. For example, if one of their friends or family overdoses, they're able to put that immediate sort of overdose first aid in place then, and give you that extra 20 minutes until the paramedics get there.
Naloxone is an opioid antagonist and is used to counter the effects of opiate overdose. It can be administered nasally or intramuscularly. Kits are inexpensive and come in various formats.
If I had been there on either of occasions, I've had Naloxone training. I've had it, I've carried it around with me when I was using, and I know loads of people that have carried it around with them as well.
Naloxone is the most common sense thing that anybody can actually offer to try and stop people from dying. In SANS, we've seen that work for ourselves. The staff here have actually used Naloxone about 20 times, I think, on people who've overdosed in or around the building. And there's a good chance at the end of the day that some of those 20 people could have died if it hadn't been for an intervention from staff here.
I've also seen other people overdose, which in the beginning, very first time I seen it, made me panic and things like that. But I've seen a couple of people overdose now, and I've just learned how to deal with it, and I've also administered naloxone to people who have had the training from this centre, which give me the confidence to do it.
Shortly after filming the original footage for this video, Cassie sadly passed away. She was loved by all that knew her and would be dearly missed.
People say about the daughter being a best friend and she was my best. She was completely I've got 3 children. She was the middle child, and everyone talks about the middle child syndrome, but it was never like that. It was like my other 2 children needed me then. It was the older one and the younger one, and Cassie was the one that was the most, everybody said we were the most alike, we did everything as a team. We were just that. There was no neediness, she never asked me for anything, but we had this connection that is stronger than most, and she's going to be a massive, there's a massive void, massive void. She was so full of life, and she came into, everybody she met, she left a mark. She helped them, even if it was just a smile, it was a word, it was just, even just her bluntness sometimes. Nobody forgot her, and she was full of life. Everybody, friends of mine now, who say that when she was little, all the way through her life, her hair streaming down her back, her sun, her face shining, and that was her all the time, and it was her to the day that she passed, to the day.
We may not be able to eliminate opiate overdose, however we can minimise the fatalities. Through the peer distribution of naloxone, we can save hundreds of lives each year that would otherwise be lost to overdose.
If you're going to use a drug, you make sure that you're not on your own. You make sure that you have got a protection around you. If that is what you are going to do, you make sure that you keep yourself safe, or you choose not to do it.
You know, in terms of what we see in Swansea in relation to opiate use, it's pivotal that people are given naloxone, and so if they were to obviously get in a situation where they're out and about in the real world, then hopefully if somebody was around and having an overdose, then they would have a kit on them there and then that, you know, can pretty much save someone's life. So it's absolutely critical that it continues and more people prescribe naloxone.
I think that's what Cassie would want everyone to do, is just look and learn from this. She would want everyone to learn from this because she was so happy. She wouldn't want to not be here now. She had plans, she had a life ahead of her, and so I just want to say to people that just learn from it, man. Really learn from it, because she's so beautiful.